Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 16, Verse 2. Tattrapi Priyavrata Rathacharana Parikhataihi Saptabhihi Sapta Sindhava Upaklipta Yata Etasyaha Saptadvipa Vishesha Vikalpastvaya Bhagavan. Not Bhagavan, Bhagavan. Khalu Suchita Etadevakhilam Aham Manato Lakshanatascha Sarvam Vijignyasami. Tatra api, in that Bhumandala, Priyavrata Rathacharana Parikhatai, by the ditches made by the wheels of the chariot used by Priyavrata Maharaj while circumambulating Sumeru behind the sun. Saptabhi, by the seven. Sapta, seven. Sindhavaha, oceans. Upakliptaha, created. Yatah, because of which. Etasyaha, of this Bhumandala. Saptadvipa, of the seven islands. Vishesha Vikalpaha, the more of the construction. Tvaya, by you. Bhagavan, O great saint. Khalu, indeed. Suchitaha, describe. Etat, this. Eva, certainly. Akhilam, whole subject. Aham, I. Manatah, from the point of view of measurement. Lakshanatah, and from symptoms. Cha, also. Sarvam, everything. Vijignyasami, wish to know. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear Lord, the rolling wheels of Maharaj Priyavrata's chariot created seven ditches in which the seven oceans came into existence. Because of these seven oceans, Bhumandala is divided into seven islands. You have given a very general description of their measurement, names, and characteristics. Now I wish to know of them in detail. Kindly fulfill my desire. We'll go on to the next verse, 5:16.3. Bhagavato gunamaye sthularupa aveshitam manohya gunepi sukshmatama atmajyotishi pare brahmani bhagavati vasudevakhe kshamam aveshitum tad uhaitad gurorhasyanu varnayitumiti. Bhagavataha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gunamaye, into the external features consisting of the three modes of material nature. Sthula rupe, the gross form. Aveshitam, entered. Manah, the mind. He, certainly. Agune, transcendental. Api, although. Sukshmatame, in his smaller form as Paramatma within the heart. Atma Jyotishi, who is full of Brahman effulgence. Pare, the Supreme, Brahmani, spiritual entity. Bhagavati, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva Akhya, known as Bhagavan Vasudeva. Kshamam, suitable. Aveshitum, to absorb. Tat, that. Uha, no u-a, uha, ha. Indeed, etat, this, Guru, O my dear spiritual master. Arhasi, anuvarnayitum, please describe factually. Iti, thus. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. When the mind is fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His external feature made of the material modes of nature, the gross universal form When the mind is fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His external feature made of the material modes of nature, the gross universal form, it is brought to the platform of pure goodness. In that transcendental position, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, who is in his subtler form is self-effulgent. Who in his subtler form is self-effulgent and beyond the modes of nature. O my Lord, please describe vividly how that form, which covers the entire universe, is perceived. Please repeat. When the mind is fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His external feature made of the material modes of nature, the gross universal form, it is brought to the platform of pure goodness. In that transcendental position, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, who in his subtler form is self-effulgent and beyond the modes of nature. O my Lord, please describe vividly how that form, which covers the entire universe, is perceived. Purport. Maharaj Parikshit had already been advised by his spiritual master Shukadeva Goswami to think of the universal form of the Lord. And therefore, following the advice of his spiritual master, he continuously thought of that form. The universal form is certainly material, but because everything is an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ultimately nothing is material. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj's mind was saturated with spiritual consciousness. Srila Rupa Goswami has stated, Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshubhihi parityago vairagyam phalgukathyate. Bhaktirasamrita Sindhu 1.2.255 and 256. Actually, this is just 255. Because 256 is Anasaktasya Vishayana, another verse. So it's just 255. Everything, even that which is material, is connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, everything should be engaged in the service of the Lord. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur translates this verse as follows. Shri Hari Sevaya Jaha Hoye Anukul Vishaya Boliya Tyage Hoye Bul. One should not give up anything connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking it material or enjoyable for the material senses. Even the senses, when purified, are spiritual. When Maharaj Parikshit was thinking of the universal form of the Lord, his mind was certainly situated on the transcendental platform. Therefore, although he might not have had any reason to be concerned with detailed information of the universe, He was thinking of it in relationship with the Supreme Lord, and therefore such geographical knowledge was not material but transcendental. Elsewhere in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.20, Narada Muni has said, Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ivetaraha. The entire universe is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although it appears different from Him. Therefore, although Parikshit Maharaj had no need for geographical knowledge of this universe, that knowledge was also spiritual and transcendental because he was thinking of the entire universe as an expansion of the energy of the Lord. In our preaching work also, we deal with so much property and money and so many books bought and sold. But because these dealings all pertain to the Krishna consciousness movement, they should never be considered material. That one is absorbed in thoughts of such management does not mean that he is outside of Krishna consciousness. If one rigidly observes the regulative principle of chanting 16 rounds of the Mahamantra every day, his dealings with the material world for the sake of spreading the Krishna consciousness movement are not different from the spiritual cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very important topic. So Maharaj Parikshit, he is asking, first of all, he mentioned that Maharaj Priyavrata's chariot created 7 ditches in which the 7 oceans came into existence. So what is this Priyavrata's chariot making ditches and 7 oceans? So it's the Bhumandala, according to the Puranic understanding of the cosmology or the geography of the Bhumandala. It's like a big circle, big flat circle, and there is a Bhumandala, and in that there are these trenches, concentric circles around the center, which is the Meru or Sumeru mountain. Maharaj Priyavrata went on his chariot, and the wheels of his chariot created these depressions. Now, this sounds very, mythological, completely out of our experience, and more like a fairy tale. But this is not that. In fact, there is this popular understanding among many Hindu so-called historians who have misinterpreted a particular verse and have said that all these stories mentioned in the Puranas and Itihasas are merely fabrications, myths or fiction that indirectly teach us some moral and moral lessons, basically. So I'll show you that verse. I think it's um, okay. See, this is the one. 2.1.106 Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Purport. These accounts are called itihasas. What is that? Dharmartha kama mokshanam upadesha samanvitam purvavritta kathayuktam itihasam prachakshate. This is the definition of itihasa, or the Vedic histories. They are defined as follows: a text that consists of narrations of past events and includes instructions about religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation is called an itihasa. Now, these historians, they interpret this verse differently. They say, Purva Vritta Kathayuktam Itihasam. Itihasam Prachaksha. They divide these two phrases, Purva Vritta and Kathayuktam. And Katha also they misinterpret again. Purva Vritta means historical incidences, and Kathayuktam means stories. Katha means story. But Katha also means description. Katha also means news. But they choose the definition story. So in what they say is itihasa means Ramayana, Mahabharata, like that, histories. Our Vedic histories are Purva Vritta means historical descriptions coupled with Kathayuktam, stories. Add stories and along with history. In this way, itihasas are written. In this way, they misinterpret. But they have these lessons of Dharmartha Kama Moksha. Dharmartha Kama Moksha are the four Chatur Purushartha, the four goals of human life. Dharma means religiosity, Artha means economic development, Kama means regulated sense gratification, and Moksha means liberation. But there is Panchama Purushartha, which is Prema, Krishna Prema. So, love of Godhead. That is actually the highest. It's much higher than even Moksha. Moksha Labhuta Krit. Moksha becomes insignificant compared to that. Anyway, so these itihasas teach about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha in the form of historical narrations coupled with fictional stories, is what they say. That is a total, travesty. It's a total misrepresentation, a bogus understanding of what itihasas are. Our sages, the great rishis and munis and acharyas, they are not rascals to write some fictional stories. So it is not that. So when we see this narration of Priyavrata riding on the chariot and making these ditches from his wheels of his chariot that are millions and millions of miles in diameter, concentric circles of these ditches, it sounds too good to be true. I mean, it's far, far away from our experience in this world. Did you see any chariot, any car making, when it's going on the mud, ditch? Did you see? Huh? You did not see. Don't sure. Not sure. No, you know what I'm talking about. If there is mud, if a car goes through that, Did you not see it making some depression in the ground? You did not see? That means I'm not, whatever I'm talking, you're not understanding. Pay attention. So just like that, the Maharaj Priyavrata's chariot made such depression around the Sumeru mountain. Sumeru mountain is like 100,000 yojanas high. 20,000 of it is underground and 80,000 above the ground. So 80,000 at least above the ground, it is high. So that's at the center of the Bhumandalam, and there is mountain ranges. There are mountain ranges around it, and then around that there is this concentric circles of ditches made by Maharaj Priyavrata's chariot. Now in those ditches, it is so deep that there are huge oceans, and those oceans are, how big are they? So our Pacific, Atlantic, all this is nothing. It's like puddle of water compared to those oceans. And there are 7 oceans. So all these descriptions sound very too fantastic from fantasy. Fantastic means pertaining to fantasy. It's like fantasy, fantastic stories. So, but it's not. These are facts. These are truths that are not readily understandable by our experience at this point. But these are very much possible. There are beings like that who did all these things. They are not stories, they are not fictional tales just to make it sound something fantastic. But no, they're actual facts. The acharyas are not idiots to write stupid stories, fictional stories. So anyway, going back, these are histories. If they were just stories, what is the use of studying Mahabharata or Ramayana? And because if it's some history and some story, we don't know which is story, which is history. So how does it become authoritative? How does such a book become a serious subject of contemplation? Why will the acharyas ever do such a thing? To mix stories in the middle of history. And the Indian historians, they think they understand history and Vedic histories. They say the Western way of telling history is just narrate the events, whereas our way of telling history is to mix it with stories. That means we have a very stupid way of describing history, is what they are saying. But they say, oh, they actually glorify it as if it's something novel. This is so bad. I mean, they are shooting themselves in the foot by saying that, because you cannot defend your Vedas anymore by saying that. Because if you say some are history, some are story, then if I quote something, is that a history part or the story part? If it's a story part, how does that story make any sense? So they think these Vedas are only moral instructions, religious instructions, but nothing to do with practical life. Practically, we cannot take them in toto. We cannot take them literally, is what they say. This is completely wrong. And Prabhupada explained this many, many times. And even he challenged the scientists by taking Vedic statements literally. Because Krishna is the greatest scientist, he created everything. So he is describing his creation. To deny it and have our own version of it just because I perceive it in some way is very, how to say, unethical. So anyway, so these are all Saptadvipa, 7 oceans. What are the 7 oceans? Do you have an idea? 5:133. So you see this verse. Ksharodekshu rasoda suroda ghrutoda kshiroda dadhimandoda suddhodaha sapta jaladhayaha sapta dvipa parikha इवाभ्यंतर द्वीप समाना एकैकश्येन यथानुपूर्वं सप्तस्वपि बहिर्द्वीपेषु पृथक् परित उपकल्पितास् तेषु जम्वादिषु बर्हिष्मतीपतिर् अनुव्रतानात्मजान् आग्निध्रेध्मजिह्वा यज्ञबाहु हिरण्यरेतो घृतपृष्ठं मेधातिथि वीतिहोत्र संज्ञान यथा संख्येनैकैकस्मिन् एकम् एवाधिपतिं विदधे. See, the seven oceans respectively contain salt water, sugarcane juice, liquor, clarified butter, milk, emulsified yogurt, and sweet drinking water. All the islands are completely surrounded by these oceans, and each ocean is equal in breadth to the island it surrounds. Maharaj Priyavrata, the husband of Queen Barhishmati, gave sovereignty over these islands to his respective sons, namely Agnidhra, Idhmajihva, Yajnabahu, Hiranyareta, Ghritapristha, Medhatithi, and Vitihotra. Thus they all became kings by the order of their father. Let's read the purport as well. It is to be understood that all the dvipas or islands are surrounded by different types of oceans, and it is said herein that the breadth of each ocean is the same as that of the island it surrounds. The length of these oceans, however, cannot equal the length of the islands. Yeah, it has to be more. According to Veeraraghava Acharya, the breadth of the first island is 100,000 yojanas. Wow. 1 yojana equals 8 miles, and therefore the breadth of the first island is calculated to be 800,000 miles. The water surrounding it must have the same breadth, but its length must be different. Of course, this is 100,000 and then the same breadth, but around it, so it must be much longer, the ocean. So, in this way, the dvipas are situated. Going back again. 5:16. So anyway, now we have experience of the salt ocean. So we are in the first dvipa, Jambu Dvipa, and therefore we have salt ocean here. Now it does not exactly coincide with the description here because it's a flat land and then there's a whole ocean surrounding it completely. But we don't see it like that. It's just like a round ball, and then in that there is some land and most of it is ocean. So how does that coincide? So it's not supposed to coincide because our earth is a part of the Jambu Dvipa and it is in a different dimension. This is a very, very technical, intricate matter. It may be difficult for some people to understand, many people to understand. In fact, to be very honest, let's look at this. Let's look at this verse. 5:16:4. In fact, I think tomorrow's verse, Prabhu will be explaining this. Rishiruvacha Navai Maharaja Bhagavato Maya Guna Vibhutehe Kashtham Manasa Vachasa Vadhigantum Alam Vibudhayushapi Purushastasmat Pradhanyenaiva Bhugolaka Vishesham Nama Rupamana Lakshanato Vyakhyasyaamaha. The great Rishi Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, there is no limit to the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's material energy." You see, no limit to the Supreme Personality of Godhead's material energy. This material world is a transformation of the material qualities, Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. Yet no one could possibly explain it perfectly, even in a lifetime as long as that of Brahma. That means Brahma has created it, but even in his entire lifetime, he cannot describe it adequately. No one in the material world is perfect, and an imperfect person could not describe this material universe accurately, even after continued speculation. O king, I shall nevertheless try to explain to you the principal regions, such as Bhugolaka or Bhuloka, with their names, forms, measurements, and various symptoms. So, just see, this is so difficult to understand. But we should understand as much as is possible by this Avarohana Pantha. That means the descending process of receiving knowledge, which is from Krishna himself. We should understand this material world as much as possible from Krishna and the Acharyas. We cannot speculate, because if we speculate, we will come to a different conclusion than what is explained in the Vedas and Puranas. Now, Maharaj Parikshit is now inquiring that I want to know more about this geography of the universe, especially of the Bhuloka, and also of the higher planetary system. In fact, the whole fifth canto, from this chapter, 16th chapter, to the 25th chapter, the entire cosmic situation, geography or cosmology of the universe is described in detail. When we say in detail, there is so much detail that is avoided. Only little bit detail is actually given. Because in 10 chapters, you cannot describe the entire universe. It's too difficult. In fact, it is said here, no? Even in the lifetime of Brahma, we cannot describe, what to speak of 10 chapters. So, we should understand to an extent. So, we have some curiosity. So, to satisfy that curiosity, a little something is explained by the Acharyas, in the Shastras, so that we can appreciate at least some details. But more importantly, why was Parikshit Maharaj interested in the geography of the Bhuloka and the whole universe, when seemingly it is something material and has nothing to do with Krishna? Why should we be interested in the geography of a place? Why should we be interested in a history of a place? Why should we be interested in the politics of a place? Independently, they have no interest. I mean, the devotee has no interest in them, independent of Krishna. But he also understands that there is nothing independent of Krishna. And therefore, when we study anything with Krishna, it becomes valuable. For example, Prabhupada many times explained that the politics of Mahabharata or Ramayana, in both cases, there were family feud, apparently, family disagreements. Like in the case of the Ramayana, Kaikeyi was adamant on sending Ram to the forest and making her own son. So this is family politics. In Srimad Bhagavatam, which is known as Amalam Puranam, which is a spotless Puranam, which is devoid of envy, Nirmatsaranam Satam, even in that, there is mention of, say, Dhruva Maharaj's stepmother, Suruchi, who gave a very bad remark, a very envious remark, which propelled Dhruva Maharaj to go to the forest and eventually find Vishnu. But there are such, in Mahabharata, the whole thing is a family feud between Pandavas and Kauravas. So these are politics. But why are we studying? Because Krishna is there. Likewise, so should we not be aware of the current politics then? We should understand also the current politics from the Shastra. Because in Bhagavatam, there is mention of how the politics will be in Kali Yuga, how the kings will be, or how the rulers will be. They will have no character, they will, all these things, predictions are made. They will loot the citizens in the name of taxes, and they will do nothing good for the citizens, either materially or spiritually. So when we see politics or when we see anything, we should see through the Shastras, and then it becomes spiritual vision, Shastra Chakshu. Because otherwise, if we keep them in silos, for example, silos means separate. Oh, my scriptural study is separate from the politics or something going on in this world, is different. If I see like that, then I cannot understand things very properly. I cannot understand the philosophy properly. Because I must understand everything from the viewpoint of Shastra. No. So Shastra explains what is the um, symptoms of Kali Yuga, for example, and also what is the example of an ideal ruler like Yudhishthir Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, Ramachandra Bhagavan. How did they rule? So these things are explained. Why? So that we have an example on how to rectify our politics to come to that politics. How Prahlad Maharaj conducted himself, how Dhruva Maharaj conducted himself. We can't just, oh, this is all politics, I don't care. But we should not we should not be embroiled too much in everything that is going on. But we should know the patterns. We should see this world from the Shastra. So if I see anything, I should be able to describe the situation from Shastric shloka. And that's what Prabhupada did. He condemned the scientists, he condemned the politicians, he condemned everything that is not Kṛṣṇa conscious. He condemned pseudo-religion. He challenged the scientists. He challenged everyone. On what basis? On the basis of Shastra. Not that we study something here, we keep it to the Bhagavatam class only, we don't speak it outside, nobody will listen anyway, they don't respect Bhagavatam. No. Whether they respect or not, we should present this in a way that is understandable to them and prove to them that their system is false. Their system of understanding is wrong. Their way of governance is not correct. We have to have God in the center. Otherwise, it's a failure. It will be a failure. It's proven time and time again in most of history, especially Vedic history, where the demons tried to rule over the citizens without God consciousness, and it proved a complete failure, abject failure. And it will again happen if we don't learn our lessons from history. So that is a given. It's undeniable. People may deny, oh, no, that's not. Keep your religious ideas to yourself. We will govern the country without religion. We will just manage all religious groups. Because you will say your religion is best, other religion, they will say theirs is best. And you will all start fighting. So we have to manage you all. So you don't come and tell us what is the unifying principle and what is science and all this. You yourself are using our technology. How dare you tell us about our science and how we are wrong and everything, and that you are right. So these are the arguments that they will put forward. So how to present ourselves that we are actually the solution to achieve unity religiously, economically, scientifically, in every single way. Unless we understand our philosophy very well and we understand that this is not actually a sectarian movement, we are not one of the many religious groups. We're not that. Ours is the actual religion, which is scientific religion. That means it does not depend on any label. Oh, I'm Hindu, Muslim, Christian, these are all labels. God is one, and the path to reach Him is one. And all the different scriptures, if we really observe them, they are describing the same process. The same process. Only those who are not intelligent, which are the vast majority of the population of Kali Yuga, they cannot see that there is a unifying principle behind all religious systems, and that religion is service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is not a sectarian claim at all. It's a very non-partisan scientific claim. And we can prove it. And Prabhupada explains very nicely in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita itself, where he says that service is the real religion of everyone. Dharma is not exactly, it does not exactly coincide with the English definition of the word religion, but for practical purposes, we usually translate it as religion. So in this case, we have to refine and redefine the word religion so that it comes to the original meaning of the word dharma. So dharma means not simply some faith. Oh, I believe in this, so this is my faith, that is my dharma, that is your dharma. That's not dharma. Dharma means characteristic, something that is inseparable from a substance. For example, sweetness is the characteristic of sugar. If sugar is not sweet, that is not sugar. That means sweetness cannot be separated from sugar. Or liquidity cannot be separated from water. So that is the characteristic of that substance. So similarly, we living entities, what is our characteristic? What is something that we have, or something that is innate in us that cannot be separated from us? Because today if I am a Hindu, tomorrow I can become Muslim. Or if I am Muslim, I can become Christian. Or I can become atheist. I may become a believer of science, so-called science. So I can change my faith. So I can give up something and my faith and have faith in another thing. So what is that? That despite my changing from one faith to another, one ideology to another ideology, that thing doesn't change in me. And that is defined here nicely by Ramanujacharya as service. We don't stop serving someone. Whether we're Muslim, Christian, Jain, Jew, Hindu, whatever it is, atheist, we are always serving someone. So that service we cannot deny, or service we cannot stop. That service is the eternal occupation of the real living entity, and that is dharma. Now the thing is, we have to find out whom should we serve so that our service will be perfect. We have chosen many imperfect masters and are serving them. So we have to now repose our service on the perfect person, Krishna, and that is called dharma. And this dharma has nothing to do with whether you're Hindu, Christian, nothing. It is a very non-partisan scientific definition of dharma. So in this way, we have to understand. Now, Parikshit Maharaj is interested in detailed knowledge of this universe's geography. Detailed knowledge. What are the distances? What are the heights? What are the depths of different geological features of the Bhumandala and of the higher planetary systems? How do they exist? And what is their atmosphere? And everything, all these kinds of things, he's asking, why? Is he interested to go to one of these planets to see, okay, let me hear about all these planets and see which one I'm interested in, I'll go there. Was that the mood? Was that the intention of Parikshit Maharaj? Or something else? Because if that is the intention, then there is a wrong intention, because we should not be interested in this, any part of this material world. Krishna has already described in the Bhagavad Gita. What did he say about all the planets of this universe? Yes. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartinorjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. He said, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So here, Krishna, in one shloka, already said, all the planets in this material world are places of misery. Why then Parikshit Maharaj is, Krishna spoke this to Arjuna, and Parikshit is the grandson of Arjuna. So when his grandfather already was told that all planets are places of misery, why this grandson is interested so much in the geological features of different planets of the universe? Why? So this comes with, he is approaching this in a totally different mode. So he is trying to understand this from the point of view that Krishna is the creator. In fact, there's a fact, it's not just a point of view. Krishna is the creator of all planets and planetary systems, and therefore he wants to understand these things from the perspective of Krishna. So we are not against geography or history or science or mathematics or language or politics. We are not against any of these things. What we are against is the study and application of these things without Krishna. Let me take out the definition of Maya as explained by the Lord himself is this. Ritertham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tadvidyadatmano mayam yatha bhaso yatha tamaha. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.34. What is that? O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So this is Maya. Yatha bhaso yatha tama. Tadvidyad atmano mayam. This is Maya. What is Maya? That which appears to be separate from the Lord is Maya. So now this material world looks like it's separate from the Lord, so it's Maya. No, you know what is separate? You know what is separate? It is in our brain, it is in our mind that we think this is separate from the Lord. So the Maya is actually here. The world is not actually Maya in one sense, because for the pure devotee there is no Maya. Because thavar jangam dekhe na dekhe tar murti sarvatra hoy nij ishtadeva spurti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, whether one sees a moving or a non-moving thing, he sees, a pure devotee, he sees the Supreme Lord in that. And same thing is echoed in Bhagavad Gita as well. In the 6th chapter, we'll come back here. 629 and 630, you see. Sarvabhutastham atmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshana. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. 630. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. See, he sees him everywhere. So these things are explained, and also Prabhupada quoted a verse in the purport 1.5.20. Idam hi vishvam bhagavani vetaro yato jagatsthana nirodha sambhavaha tadhi svayam veda bhavans tathapite pradesha matram bhavatah pradarshitam. The Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, is himself this cosmos. And still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated, in him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis. So, idam hi vishwam bhagavan ivetaraha. So this universe is pervaded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, this is another form of the Lord. This is called the Virat Rupa, the universal form. So again, the question comes, repeats. Why is Parikshit Maharaj interested in detailed knowledge of something which is, why is he not asking about Krishna? Again, we will go this verse, 1.5.14. Tatonyatha kinchana yadvivakshataha prithak drishasta krita rupa namabhi na karhichit kvapi chaduh sthitamatir labhe tavatahatanorivaspradam. Whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms and names to agitate the mind as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place. If a boat is not anchored or in a bay, so it and when huge winds are there, it goes and it is not controlled. So our mind becomes like that, uncontrolled, and we cannot even base our understandings or our philosophy on anything. Um, Scientists, they come with various theories on which everything is built, they say. They think that these theories form the foundation of explanation of everything, and they think everything is built on these foundational principles. There is only one foundational principle, that the Supreme Lord is the source, is the annihilator, and is the maintainer of everything. So, why is he interested in detailed knowledge? This is the answer here. Janma karma chame divyam evam yovetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mamed. So Krishna here says, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not upon leaving the body take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode of Arjuna. Tattvataha means what? In reality, in detail. So if we understand Krishna's Janma and Karma, which are transcendental, then we don't have a repeated birth and death in this material world. We go back to Krishna. Now, going back to Krishna, not having repeated birth, that is in Krishna's hands. But what is in our hands is, especially when we have come to this contact with the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, and have come into contact with his books and devotees and his classes. So we have this opportunity to understand him in detail, as much detail as is revealed to us. So we should employ that, because when Krishna said Janma Karma, it's not only pertaining to when he comes here as Krishna or Rama, then he does some leelas, and that is what it is talking about. No. This creation of the universe is also his karma, his leela, his activity, right? He was the one who expanded himself into Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu breathed out the universes, and then Garbhodakasaya Vishnu came, he generated the lotus flower. All this is activity, right? So this is not activity. I mean, even when Brahma creates, that is also on the order of Krishna. And if somebody else like Elon Musk goes to Mars, that is also on the order of Krishna in one sense. He is inspiring him from within to go to Mars, to the moon, or whatever. They're trying to go. But this is foolish. Then why does Krishna inspire him to do such a thing? Well, he wanted to do it, and Krishna gives him facility. Okay, you try. I'll give you. But it will not be the ultimate solution to anything, even if they manage to go there and whatever. But anyway, coming back to the point, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yovetti Tattvataha. Tattvataha means in detail, in reality, in depth. So we have to have in-depth understanding of Krishna, as much as is revealed in the Shastra and by the Acharyas. We should have that. And this is one of the details of Krishna's activities, this creation of the universe. So he wanted to know more about how Krishna created this universe, how wonderfully he created. In fact, recently, ever since the Chandrayaan mission happened, where India sent some spacecraft to the moon, so I became again interested in cosmology. I was interested in more than a decade ago, out of curiosity. Now, I'm not I'm interested again, not because of curiosity, but to re-establish people's faith in the Vedic scriptures. Because the description of the moon and the description, of the moon from the spacecraft and the description of the moon from the Vedas are different, is different. So, how to believe the Vedas anymore? Because they are already very happy and enthusiastic about their success in the spacecraft. So, how? What will happen to the Vedic descriptions and how will Vedas be taken after this? Even more so, they will consider it a fiction. Right? So, how to rebut that? How to understand? So this quest has brought me to. I did not really study that in depth, but just a cursory study of the Puranic cosmology and also a little bit about the Siddhantic cosmology. Siddhanta means Surya Siddhanta, which is Surya Dev's instructions to Mayadanav, the architect of the demons. So all our calendar now, our tithis are calculated based on Surya Siddhanta only. And the descriptions of the planets in the Surya Siddhanta and the descriptions of the different planets in Puranas, this Puranic description of planets and the cosmos is not only in Bhagavatam, it is there in other Puranas also. Even in Vishnu Purana it is there. In other Puranas also it is there. In fact, in all Puranas, all the Mahapuranas, it is there. Sarga, Visargascha. These are the subject matter of any Purana. Two 10:1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Shuka Uvacha. Atra Sargo Visargascha Sthanam Poshanamutayaham Manmantare Shanukatha Nirodho Muktirashrayaham. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 10 divisions of statements regarding the following. So this is actually true for any Mahapurana. 18 Mahapuranas are there, and there are about 32 or 36 Upapuranas, like Harivamsha Purana. There is the Vishnu Dharmottar Purana. These are all sub-Puranas, Upapuranas. So in the Mahapuranas, there are these 10 subjects, and in Upapuranas and Itihasas, there are 5 subjects. So in this Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 10 divisions of statements regarding the following. In the creation of the universe, subcreation, planetary systems, protection by the Lord, the creative impetus, the change of Manus, the signs of God, returning home back to Godhead, liberation, and the summum bonum, which is the absolute truth, which is the personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa. So these 10 things are mentioned. So the Siddhantic cosmology, Surya Siddhanta's description of the universe and the Purana's description of the universe does not match. So then how? How can we understand? How come both Shastras are not matching with each other? Now we will have doubt on Shastra. Which Shastra is correct, or both are wrong, or what is going on? We tend to place more faith in the science because that's how we were taught. But one thing I found, again, this is in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. No, it's not here. So there is Laghu Bhagavatamrita, chapter 5, text 327, 5.327, which says that if there is a contradiction between two statements of scripture or between two acharyas, we cannot say that this is correct and that is wrong. Because if we say like that, we are offending one or the other, and not just offending. It's not about just feelings or this is about truth, because they don't speak untruth. Arsha Vijnana Vakya Nahi Dosha Eshab Brahm Pramad Vipralipsa Karana Pata. So the 4 defects of the conditioned soul, which are the Brahma Pramad Vipralipsa Karana Pata, means tendency to commit mistakes, tendency to be illusion, cheating propensity, and imperfect senses. These things do not happen in the pure devotees. So how can two pure devotees say different things about the same thing? Or two shastras, supposed to be the word of God or word of authoritative scripture, but they're saying differently. For example, in the Puranas, we understand that the Bhumandala is a flat plane of earth, which there are mountains, there are everything, there are oceans, there are mountains of various sizes, but it's a vast flat land, many millions of miles in diameter. Now, in the Surya Siddhanta, the earth is described as a globe. In Puranas, the moon is said to be farther than the sun. In the Siddhanta, Surya Siddhantas, the moon is said to be nearer than the sun. It is said during the eclipse, the moon is what blocks the path. Whereas in Puranas, it is said that the Rahu blocks the path. So, different descriptions. What is going on? Well, immediately, first thing we have to axiomatically accept that both Siddhanta, Surya Siddhanta and Puranas are correct. Now, how can both be correct when contradicted? That is a different matter. That is the next subject we have to tackle. The first thing we have to absolutely axiomatically accept is that both these are correct. How can then they be correct? What is making us then see it so differently? Why is Surya Siddhanta more akin to what we see compared to what the Puranas are saying? All these ditches and oceans and concentric circles and the Meru mountain, where are all these things? Nothing to be found. It's just a globe and then there's water and then there's no life anywhere else. This is what is going on. So what is all this? Some completely different description. And the scientists are saying another thing. But the scientists are, at least the Surya Siddhanta kind of, in some aspects it is closer to the scientist's way of understanding. So what to be accepted? What is to be accepted? First thing, scientists, we don't really, give them too much credit because they are seeing with their imperfect senses. Whatever they're seeing, maybe they're describing it perfectly. That also is not possible. But they are seeing something which is distorted. So they cannot really explain everything. So when I read some statements of, from the Surya Siddhanta about the position of the moon and things like that, and the shape of the earth and moon and all this, I understood, I mean by Prabhupada's mercy, that both of them have to be correct because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also was an expert in Bhagavatam and he was also expert in astronomy and astrology. And especially he got the title Saraswati, Siddhanta Saraswati, from the Astrological and Astronomical Society. They only conferred upon him that title, Saraswati, Siddhanta Saraswati, sorry. So he wrote a commentary on the Surya Siddhanta. So when he does not have any problem reconciling both the Purana and the Surya Siddhanta, then there must be some unifying factor in this. He did not condemn one or the other. So now we have to see how these both can be true at the same time. Well, the same thing can appear in many ways. See here, in the Virat Rupa of the Lord, Arjuna saw this. Divi Surya Sahasrasya. Oh, no, not this. Next verse. 11:13. Tatra ekastham jagat Kṛṣṇam pravibhaktam anekadha apashyad devadevasya sharire pandavastada. At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe, situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. So he is seeing, it's a very interesting thing. He is seeing the unlimited expansions of the universe. That means the same universe is appearing different to different classes of beings. Like in the Puranas, it is described that there are 14 planetary systems, right? Layers of planetary systems according to the piety of the living entity. We don't see like that in the sky. We just see some random stars everywhere, and that's all it is. If it's a pitch black dark sky on a dark moon night, we experienced that in New Zealand when we went there 2012, or more than a decade ago. We were there, and in the night, the sun set very late, almost 10 o'clock, because it was summer. And when we saw the night sky, we were mesmerized. How beautiful it was, because there's no light pollution. Light pollution means all the street lights and everything. It covers all the stars and everything, the light from the stars. So when nothing is there, then you can see the full sky in its complete grandeur. And then we saw so many stars. There is not a single nanometer of space without stars. So many stars. So it doesn't look like any 14 layers of planetary systems, nothing like. We don't have that view. And we also don't see any live aeroplanes going from one planet to another. We don't have. So, but you see Arjuna, from one place, the Tatra Ekastham Jagat Kṛṣṇam, he could see the entire universal form of the Lord, the unlimited expansions of the universe. That means the universe has many expansions. Just like Krishna has many expansions, right? Krishna expanded into Balram, and Balram into Chaturvyuha, and then there are Adi Narayan, then Mahasankarshan, then all the other Narayanas. Everything is described, in our Shastra, all these expansions. So all of them are different forms of same Vishnu. What is that? Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. He is Advaitam, he is only one, but he has Anantarupam. Similarly, here it appears that the universe also is one, but it has unlimited Rupam, Anantarupam, Anekatha. See? Unlimited, or, what is it? Unlimited expansions. Not limited, unlimited. Jagat, Ekastham, Kṛṣṇam, Pravibhaktam, divided. Anekatha, into many. Apashyat, Devadevasya, Sharire, Pandava, Stada. In fact, he said, Sukadeva Goswami said, who's that? Parikshit Maharaj said to Sukadeva Goswami, or Sukadeva Goswami said, Sukadeva Goswami said in the 5th canto, another place where he says, an ant on a potter's wheel. It's different perspective, basically. An ant on a potter's wheel, potter's wheel, when they make the pot. If there is an ant on the wheel, it will see differently than the potter. The potter from outside sees it like this. But the ant, he is just in one place. But for the potter, he is moving. So, like we also, we think we are sitting in one place. We're not moving. But the earth itself is moving. The sun is moving. So we are actually moving. But we feel like we're in one place. So we see it differently than a person who is outside the earth, seeing the earth move, and everything with the earth moves along with it. So it's different viewpoints, and it's not just from the three-dimensional, I'm in the height, so I'm seeing it differently. It's not just that. Also, what kind of senses we have. Like we cannot see ghosts, right? Because we don't have the senses to see ghosts. It's a subtler vision, gross vision, subtle vision. And how subtle can we go? Because not all subtle is the same. That is also unlimited versions of it. Because what is gross for us is subtle for the animals. And what is subtle for us is normal for the ghosts. And the demigods are even more subtle, and even more than the demigods, the sages of the Janaloka, Tapaloka, Maharloka, they are all even more subtle. Brahma is even more subtle, so, and Vishnu is even more subtle, and we, the soul, also are very, very subtle. So, in this way, the subtle nature coupled with the different vantage points from where we are seeing, all this makes it very, very, it's impossible to describe. That's why the next verse says it is impossible to describe even this material world. Forget about the spiritual world. That's why even Brahma said, what did he say? 10:14:7. गुणात्मनस्ते पिगुणान् विमातुं हितावतीर्णस्य कैशिरेस्य कालेन यैर्वा विमिताः सुकल्पैर्भूपांशवः खे मिहिता द्युभासः. See, in time, learned philosophers or scientists might be able to count all the atoms of the earth. Actually, they cannot. But let's say even if they can. Or they can count the particles of snow, or perhaps even the shining molecules radiating from the sun, the stars, and other luminaries. But among these learned men, who could possibly count the unlimited transcendental qualities possessed by you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have descended onto the surface of the earth for the benefit of all living entities? That means nobody can, even if one is able to count the entire number of atoms on the earth, even then one cannot understand the qualities or even count the qualities of Krishna. So when Parikshit Maharaj asked for detailed knowledge, he just wanted to marvel at how wonderfully Krishna has created this material world. He did not want to study geography independent of Krishna. He wanted to study geography in relation to Krishna and actually glorify Krishna. Oh, Krishna has created such nice systems. And as Sukadeva Goswami was replying to him for 10 chapters, in fact 11 chapters. The 11th chapter is the last chapter, which is the 26th chapter of this canto. 11th chapter from here, from the 16th chapter, is the 26th chapter. There he describes the hellish planets. And when he did that, you know what? Parikshit Maharaj lost interest at once in all the detailed knowledge. He said, how can they be saved? How can these people, what? They're suffering so much? How can they be saved? What is it? Then the 6th canto starts. Then he describes the first chapter itself, Ajamil story, the holy name. And that's how it goes on. So as he was studying how wonderfully Krishna has created this material world, all these big, gigantic sizes of planets, and like Krishna says in a limited way, Ghamavishya cha bhutani dharayamyaham ojasa. You see, I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. He said. Now, evam yovati tattvataha, detail. What is his orbit? How big is the orbit? How big is the planets? At what speed are they orbiting? This is detail. Should we know these things? Yes. Why? Why? After all, we should just chant Hare Krishna, right? Yes. This is not the most essential. But why was he interested? Because he wanted to marvel at how big the planets are, how fast the planets are moving. Because Brahma Samhita says, for example, Yacchakshuresha Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rasesha Teja. What is that? Yasyagnyaya Bhramati Sambhrita Kala Chakra, the orbiting of the on strict schedule, the sun moves in its own orbit at 16,000 miles per second in its orbit on the order of Govinda. So he wanted to know on the order of Govinda how fast the sun is moving, how fast the earth is moving, how tall the mountains are, how deep the oceans are, how many oceans are there, how many planets are there, what is the kind of life there are, how did Krishna populate the entire universe. Details. Tattvataha, evam yogati tattvataha, janma karma chame. This is also karma of Krishna or Leela of Krishna. This creation. That's why Prabhupada said, why should we only be interested in the Ras Leela and not the creation Leela? Why people jump this professional reciters of Bhagavatam go directly to Ras Leela and something. Why? Is this not Leela? This is also Leela. So by just seeing, if those who are interested in scientific study and all these things, I was interested in those things. So when I see all these sizes of planets and their speeds and everything, mesmerizing. But Krishna is behind all this. Oh, then the focus is on Krishna. Because he says, by my energy they stay in orbit. Okay, what is orbit? What is everything? So this is all the invisible thread that is in the necklace that holds all the pearls together, or the garland, all the flowers. We can only see the flowers. We cannot see the thread. But we should know that the thread is what is holding the garland. So similarly, we can see, okay, planets moving and, maybe we cannot see like this, but from the Shastra we can see. And from the Shastra also we can see what is going on inside our body. We cannot see with our, nowadays they're trying to do some scans and seeing. But even then they're imperfect. But our Shastra very nicely gives the descriptions of what happens within the body. In fact, I was just reading the Tattva Sandarbha. Jiva Goswami was saying, right in the beginning of the Tattva Sandarbha, which is the first of the 6 Sandarbhas, that in order to know what is happening in our body and outside in the universe, the only way is the Shastra. Our instruments won't work. Now they have found some instruments to scan our body and what is going on inside, but not really perfect. To an extent, yes, don't deny. But this is all automatically can be achieved by Shastra. So, that is material. We're not even talking about spiritual. In the material world itself, what is happening inside the body and what is happening beyond in the cosmos can only be found by Shastra and not by any of our experience. So this is the reason for Parikshit Maharaj's inquiry, and this is called Kṛṣṇa-conscious scientific study. So we should know everything through Krishna's vision. Then that will not be Maya anymore. So we can then go into every topic because Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, everything emanates from Krishna. So we can touch any topic and connect it with Krishna. And therefore, those people who are interested in every subject other than Krishna, which is this category of people, Shrotavyadini Rajendra Niranam Santi Sahasrashah Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedhinam. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of the ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society. Now, with the understanding that all those subject matters relate to Krishna, but they're just missing that point of Krishna, if we can bring them from those topics to Krishna. Prabhupada even said, okay, if I'm interested in drinking wine or liquor, Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya. Apsu means not only water, but any liquid. So even if one thinks that, this taste of liquor or alcohol is Krishna, eventually he'll become pure and he will come to Krishna consciousness. So it is so purifying that even if we, experience or, see anything in this material world, perceive, but if we see it in relation with Krishna, that will purify our vision, purify our understanding of things. And we will come to the proper conclusions about everything. So this is why we have to be interested. And same thing, the next verse also, pretty much the same theme. And it not only is, Prabhupada actually adds something else. You see, in the end, he says something else. See, in our preaching work also, we deal with so much property and money and so many books bought and sold. So it's like a business, basically, business enterprise. But because these dealings are all pertain to the Krishna consciousness movement, they should never be considered material. That one is absorbed in thoughts of such management does not mean that he is outside of Krishna consciousness. You know why he is saying this? Because there were some devotees who were thinking like this. Oh, I'm only, engaged in, managing this and that service, but I'm not being Krishna conscious. No, that management is Krishna consciousness. Nothing is material. Not only in the matter of wanting to know about the universe and everything, but also in the matter of management. Like, business management, they go to business management and learn, in the universities. We also have business management. We manage businesses of Krishna. We publish books, we sell books, we cook, we conduct festivals. This is all business of Krishna. Krishna's business. So this is Dharma Samsthapana is our business, Krishna's business. So when we do this, this is business management. We have to become efficient, we have to do all these things. But this is all Krishna conscious because all this is done for serving Krishna. So knowing all the universe or whatever, this is called Sambandha. Knowing Krishna, knowing his energies, knowing about him and knowing our relationship with him in his material energy, where we situated. This is all Sambandha. But even in the matter of Abhidheya, where we engage in service, we should not shy away from using anything material, and that is called Yukta Vairagya. We should not shy away from learning about any topic. It is said, Prabhupada said many times, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was expert in every topic, not just Bhagavatam. Or when we say Bhagavatam, it's not a limited topic. Bhagavatam is an unlimited topic. It touches every single facet of human life, not just human life. Human life is just a subset of what is described in Bhagavatam. So every subject that we can possibly conceive of is already mentioned in the Bhagavatam. And apart from that, seeing the whole world and understanding them and knowing it, and then connecting it back to the scripture, that very integrated view of the world with the scriptures, that is what a devotee should have. Otherwise, we will lose our conviction in Krishna consciousness. We will lose Krishna consciousness. We will not be Krishna conscious enough. We have to have that integrated view. And what I was going to show a verse. Just missed I was just remembering it a few seconds ago. Anyway, so prapanchikataya buddhya harisambandha vastunaha mumukshubhe parityago vairagyam phalgu kathyate anasaktasya vishayan yatharham upayunjatah nirbandha krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. So this yukta and vairagya, being fully involved in this material world for the sake of Krishna, but at the same time completely aloof from the sense gratificatory pursuit, wanting to enjoy this material world, but at the same time completely dealing with this material world for Krishna's service, is the perfect way how to behave in this material world, like a Padma Patram Ivam Bhasa. You see this Padma Patram Ivam Bhasa. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yah lipyate na sa papena Padma Patram Ivam Bhasa. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Lotus leaf which is always in water but never touched by water. It is waterproof, but is always in water. Always in touch with water, but never, the water cannot touch it. See how Krishna creates a lotus leaf to give us this understanding of how devotee should Not that it's a clever idea. Ah, that's a good idea. Yeah, lotus leaf. Yeah. No. Krishna created the lotus leaf to teach us this lesson. So Krishna throws all these, he sprinkles all these examples all over. That's why if you see in the 11th canto, the 24 gurus, different things are gurus. Actually, there are not 24. There are unlimited gurus. Yes, I remembered back again. That was the point. 4, 28, 41. साक्षात् भगवतोक्तेन गुरुणा हरिणा नृपा विशुद्ध ज्ञान दीपेन स्फुरता विश्वतोमुखम्. Vishwatomukham is very important. In this way, King Malayadhwaja attained perfect knowledge because in his pure state he was directly instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By means of such enlightening transcendental knowledge, he could understand everything from all angles of vision. All angles of vision. That means anywhere he looked, he only saw Krishna. He only saw Krishna's teachings being echoed from everywhere. For example, that lotus leaf. Yeah, you can create a waterproof cup out of it, and you can do so many things. But the lotus leaf will not teach us how a pure devotee should live. Nor does the lotus leaf even think of teaching us. The lotus leaf is not thinking about teaching us. But from the lotus leaf we can learn. How is it possible? When we say 24 gurus in that 11th canto, actually there's a children's book also on that, right? Did you see? No? You don't know about the 24 gurus? Yeah, the 24 lessons. No? Oh, I thought you were all knowing what I'm talking about. Okay. I think it's in the 9th chapter or 7th chapter. 24 gurus are mentioned, and then the next few chapters are all about each lesson from those 24 gurus. 11:7:33 to 35. Okay, let's see the verses. Prithvi Vayurakasham Apognishchandrama Ravihi Kapoto Jagarah Sindhu Patango Madhukrit Gajaha Madhuha Harino Meenah Pingala Kuraror Kumari Sharakrit Sarpa Purnanabhi Supeshakrit Ete me Guravo Rajan Chaturvimshatirashritah Shiksha Vrittibhiretesham Anvashiksham Ihatmanah. It's a very nice example. O King, I have taken shelter of 24 gurus, who are the following: earth, air, sky, water, fire, moon, sun, pigeon, python, the sea, moth, honeybee, elephant, honey thief, the deer, the fish, the prostitute Pingala, Kurara bird, and the child, and the young girl, arrow maker, serpent, spider, and wasp. My dear King, by studying their activities, I have learned the science of the self. And this is a beautiful thing. There's also this purport, although one sentence, it has a huge, in fact, that is one of the gurus, Supeshakrit, because it causes the insect that it kills to take a beautiful form in the next life. This is the wasp. The insect, so this wasp actually traps an insect in a hole in the wall or something. And the insect is always meditating on this wasp out of fear. And then in the same life, it will become that wasp. So that is mentioned so that even in this life, if we think of Krishna, whether out of fear or whether out of this thing, of course, preferably favorably, when we also become godly, we also become devotees. Even in this life, we can change. So in that way, from the wasp, he is learning. So all these 24 gurus have different lessons they are teaching. But not only 24. All these, like tortoise, for example. Krishna said in the second chapter, 58th verse, right? Kurmongani vasarvashaha. How a Goswami should live. We can learn from just looking at the tortoise. The tortoise is not intending to teach that lesson to us. But we can learn the lesson from that. How? Only when we have heard it from our guru. Then when we see the tortoise, it reflects from the tortoise the same instruction of the same guru, and we get instructed by our own guru. So actually this is nicely explained by the acharyas. I think in the 11th canto 9th chapter, which was, let me see. Oh. No. 11.9. How come every time I forget this number? 11.7.33 and 11.9. Okay. Okay. Let's go to 11th canto. Yes, 11.9.31. 11.7.33, 11.9.31. Okay. You see here, about the 24 gurus, right? Although the absolute truth is one without a second, the sages have described him in many different ways. Therefore, one may not be able to acquire very firm or complete understanding from one spiritual master. Contradictory. What is happening? Okay. Srila Sridhar Swami comments on this verse as follows. The statement that one requires many spiritual masters certainly needs explanation, since practically all great saintly persons of the past did not take shelter of many spiritual masters, but rather accepted one. The words Giyate Bahudharshibhihi, the absolute truth is glorified in many ways by the sages, indicate the personal and impersonal understandings of the absolute truth. In other words, some sages describe only the Lord's impersonal effulgence, which is without spiritual variety, whereas others describe the Lord's manifest form as the personality of Godhead. Thus, merely by hearing from many different authorities, one cannot actually learn the highest perfection of life. The proliferation of different spiritual authorities is useful only to counteract the living entity's tendency to be grossly materialistic. Yeah. So instead of just being grossly materialistic, one is advised to go to many gurus. Other than that, one has to move above that and take actually shelter of the real guru. Different spiritual philosophers create faith in the existence of the soul and may be accepted at that level only. You see? But as will be clarified in later verses, the spiritual master who ultimately gives perfect knowledge is one. And there is a verse for this, 11.80.32. Please remind me. After this purport, we'll go to 11.80.32, which after that we will end it. Srila Jiva Goswami comments as follows on this verse. Since it is commonly understood that one is to accept a single spiritual master, why is it recommended that one learn from many so-called spiritual masters appearing in the forms of ordinary material objects? The explanation is that one's worshipable spiritual master will instruct one in many departments of knowledge by giving lessons gleaned from ordinary objects. See? This is the point. As recommended by the Brahmana Avadhuta, one can strengthen the teachings received from one's acharya and avoid transgressing his orders by observing ordinary things in nature. One should not mechanically receive the teachings of one's guru. The disciple should be thoughtful and with his own intelligence realize in practice what he has heard from his spiritual master by observing the world around him. By observing the world around him. In this sense, one may accept many gurus, though not those who preach against the knowledge of received from the bona fide spiritual master. In other words, one should not hear from persons like the atheist Kapila. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also comments on this verse as follows. It is stated in Bhagavatam, Tasmat Gurum Prapadyata Jignasu Shreyottamam. Therefore, one should approach a bona fide spiritual master if one actually desires to achieve the highest perfection in life. So, it is actually only one spiritual master, but you see, in this way, one may accept many ordinary material objects as one spiritual masters, considering them as Siksha Gurus, or Gurus who give important lessons for spiritual advancement. Like we call Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as Simha Guru, the Lion Guru. He was as bold as a lion, courageous in presenting the truth. So we should be also aspiring to become as courageous and present the truth despite all obstacles. So from the lion we can learn that, but we should not learn from the lion how to eat meat. We should learn the courage and use it in Kṛṣṇa-conscious. So this is how we learn different things from these different gurus. So in this way, we should understand 118032. Sorry, 108032. See, Savai Satkarmanam Sakshat Dvijater Iha Sambhavaha Adyonga Yatra Shraminam Yathaham Jnanado Guru. My dear friend, he who gives a person his physical birth is his first spiritual master, like mother, then father. And he who initiates him as a twice-born Brahmana and engages him in religious duties is indeed more directly his spiritual master. This is sometimes even Kula Guru Smarta. But the person who bestows transcendental knowledge upon the members of all the spiritual orders of society is one's ultimate spiritual master. Indeed, he is as good as my own self. This is the Sadguru, the bona fide spiritual master, not the Asadguru, who is masquerading as Sadguru. So, even sometimes people get initiated by different gurus here and there, but the one who gives transcendental knowledge, he is the highest. So, he is the actual guru, and by his instructions, logical reflection, 11, 13, 33. So this is what the many gurus is. Evam vimrishya gunato manasastriyavastha manmayaya mayikrita iti nishchitarthah sanchidya hardamanuman sadukti tikshna jnanasina bhajata makhila samchayadhim. You should consider how, by the influence of my illusory energy, these three states of mind caused by the modes of nature have been artificially imagined to exist in me. Having definitely ascertained the truth of the soul, you should utilize the sharpened sword of knowledge acquired by logical reflection and from the instructions of sages and Vedic literatures to completely cut off the false ego, which is the breeding ground of all doubts. All of you should then worship me who am situated within the heart. So in this way we should approach everything with Shastra, with seeing. We'll use our eyes and corroborate it with Shastra, learn, and always everything that we see, everything that we do should remind us of the instructions. So we should regularly read, then we will regularly everything will remind us of Krishna. Okay, I will stop here. Any questions or comments on this verse? Oh, there are verses which are... Okay, you know what? I'm not going to go all there because it's already very late. You can do your homework and read these verses if you want. Yeah. He does many things in one. So, is there a way a lion can serve a devotee? Can you think of a way? Huh? I don't understand. What? Gajendra, lion. Okay, she's Durga. Now, for us, how will a lion serve us? Yeah, so when we get reminded of this quality of how we should fearlessly preach, and the lion helps us remember that. So when a lion helps us remember that, the lion gets benefit. Now you may say, which lion will get the benefit? There are so many lions. All lions get benefit. So in that way, Krishna is kind enough. Actually, he's doing many things. The soul is experiencing its desire that it wants to eat meat. Okay, whole life just eat meat and but nothing else but meat. Okay, the soul is given that, but also it has to suffer because it has to fight with other lions. At the same time, it is ecologically balancing out things because if the lion doesn't eat, then other things will overpopulate. So these things will keep in check. So in that way, there is a food chain that is created by Krishna himself. So that is going on. So ecologically, they are having a purpose there in the whole thing. And they are just playing out their karma. They are just experiencing the karma. But at the same time, Krishna created them in such a way that we can also learn lessons from them, like this. So many things he's doing at one time. When he does one thing, he does many things in that. So, yeah. What was the question? Hmm. Yeah. So I was just memorizing this verse. 7, 9, 12. So the question for those who are online. So the question was, there are some things, we have to understand everything in truth, Tattvavit. But then when we read Bhagavatam, there are things which we sometimes don't understand. But we should understand Tattvavit, then what to do. Yatha manisham. Tasmadaham vigata viklava ishvarasya sarvatmana mahigranami yatha manisham. Nicho jaya guna visarganamo Nicho jaya guna visargamanu pravishtaha Uyeta yena hikuman anuvarnitena. Therefore, although I was born in a demoniac family, I may without a doubt offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor as far as my intelligence allows. So actually that's what I wanted to show. As far as my intelligence, yatha manisham. And this is also echoed in this verse, 1:18-23. Aham hi prishtoryamano bhavadbhir achaksh atmavagamotra yavan nabhah patantyatma samam patatrinas tatha samam vishnugatim vipaschitah. O rishis who are as powerfully pure as the sun, I shall try to describe to you the transcendental pastimes of Vishnu as far as my knowledge allows. As the birds fly in the sky as far as their capacity allows, because the sky is unlimited, each bird can only fly to the level it can. So do the learned devotees describe the Lord as far as the realization allows. So as far as I can understand, I should. And if I don't, I always have the facility of questioning, which is why there are questions. Are you listening? Questions. Because if I don't understand something, I can always ask questions, which is how Arjuna asked questions. Classic example, when he said, I spoke to sun god, he asked question how. He did not simply accept blindly. That is dogmatic. Blindly accepting is dogmatic, fanatical. We should understand with logical reflection. You see, Yatha Manisham. Then, as far as our logical is, it's not that we can understand everything with logic. Even this is actually the recommendation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kṛṣṇa-das Kaviraj Goswami. I think page 15. Yeah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaho Vichar, Vichar Karile Chitte Pabe Chamatkar. If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful. So mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu means everything. Even this creation is also part of that only. Because when we understand the creation, like he was describing all the speeds and everything, and then when you describe the hellish planets, oh, that is suffering. Oh, I can't hear about this. How can they be saved? What is the solution? So, all the structure of the universe and everything, all this grand arrangement Krishna made for what? Only to give us facility to rectify ourselves. And how to rectify ourselves? By coming to Kṛṣṇa consciousness. How to come to Kṛṣṇa consciousness? The easiest way. In Kritya Yoga, they meditate for millions and millions of years. Thousands of years. Now, just, by chanting. Who gave that? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mercy, logic. So we can connect the entire Bhagavatam, whatever may be the subject, to the mercy of Chaitanya. How easily he made it possible. So all this grand arrangement, we can be interested like a scientist. Okay, this height and weight and distance on. But more than all of this, the underlying principle, the most wonderful thing is actually the mercy of the Lord. Because behind this grand arrangement, why did he make such a grand arrangement? Only to benefit us, only to rectify us. So that was his real intention, not to show off his engineering skills or artistic skills. As a side thing, he makes it artistic because he is artistic, but it's a prison house to rectify us. And he repeatedly comes here to remind us that's his real mercy actually. That's the underlying principle governing this entire movement of the creation. So what my point is, we have to apply logic and argument to understand this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. Not just who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also I don't know, who is Panchadva also I don't know. Sometimes I ask question, right? This is just like basic. I have to know everything, like why, what, how, logically and with arguments. If anybody comes with argument, I should be able to defeat that and convince him also. Unless I am convinced with all these arguments, if I have gone through all these arguments in my mind, then I can face any argument. But if some argument comes and I don't have an answer, then doubt comes in my head. Yeah, actually what he said makes sense. Then they're gone. So, you have to understand all this well. So, okay, I'll stop it here. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.